Good evening, guys. In today's video, we're going to be looking at how to determine the future value of a certain amount of invested or borrowed money if an interest rate per annum is applied to that money and compounded a certain amount of times over a certain time period. So what we can actually do to figure that out is use the compound interest formula. And more specifically, we can use an annual compound interest formula. We can describe the annual compound interest formula as A equals P multiplied by 1 plus R over 100 n to the power of n multiplied by t. Now in this formula, it's important for us to identify what each of those variables are. So we can describe A as the future value of invested amount. And when I say invested amount, I can also mean borrowed amount. P refers to the original investment. Okay, so the original investment, and we call that the principal. R refers to the annual interest rate. N can be classified as the number of times interest is compounded in a year. So it's the number of times interest is compounded in a year. And finally, T can be determined as the number of years the money is invested. So the number of years. Now what's great about this formula is it actually gives us the ability to look at a certain amount of invested money over a time period, and we can determine the future value of the invested amount regardless of how many or how often that money, that interest, is compounded. For instance, if you have a certain amount of money invested in a bank account and that percentage rate is compounded yearly, you're going to end up with a different future amount after 4 years compared to if that interest rate is compounded monthly. So in my next video, I'm going to look at the difference between the same amount of money invested at a certain interest rate over a certain number of years, but compounded at different times. For instance, the difference between being compounded monthly as opposed to being compounded daily, as opposed to being compounded yearly. Okay, so click on the next one, guys, if you want to see a few examples. Thanks for watching.